What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Capitalize Podcast. I'm Chris Casella, and as always, this episode is brought to you by our private lending company, Sharper Capital Partners. If you want to learn more about how Sharper Capital can help you build your real estate investing business, you can check us out at sharpercapital.com. I'm here today with Ethan Bishop. Ethan is an Ohio realtor on Cincinnati's #1 real estate team, the Chabris Group with Keller Williams Seven Hills. Throughout his career, he's closed over 100 homes with a total transaction volume of $34 million. Ethan has made his mark on social media by being 100% authentic, which we'll talk about today. And it seems like every month this year, I've seen him on the $1 million month board for Keller Williams. Ethan, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to chat with you over the next hour here.
Awesome. So you're originally from Akron, Canton. So why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about your background, how you ended up down here in Cincinnati, and then what ultimately led you to becoming an agent?
Yeah, so I went to high school up in North Canton, Ohio, which is the Akron Canton area. And my freshman year, I went to a very small college. I was on almost a full ride scholarship for lacrosse and like my grades. Unfortunately, and I'm always, again, authentic with people, I partied way too hard my freshman year, did a lot of dumb things, didn't go to class. I think I got like a 2.2 GPA my freshman year, lost my scholarship, and really was like, what am I going to do? And I knew I wanted to get away from my hometown. So my best friend from high school, he was already going to UC, and I hit him up and I was like, hey, can I come down, live with you and just start a new life essentially. So that was age 19 back in 2012 is when I came down here. And I originally was going to try to transfer into UC and go to their hospitality management program, but they got rid of that program. And I actually ended up taking classes at Cincinnati State, just kind of paid for them out of pocket and worked a bunch of odd jobs. I mean, I worked downtown as like a front desk attendant for a hotel that doesn't even exist anymore. Worked at like Panera Bread, and then worked as like a staffer for Panera Bread too. Like I'd go in like 4 a.m. and load all of the pallets. And then I would do the shift there, and then I'd work another job. Then I go to classes, and pretty much just got my life in order down here in Cincinnati. Got my hospitality management degree at 22, and I was working at a restaurant called Mr. Sushi at the time down here in Clifton. I was bartending, serving, you name it, doing all of it. Became really close with the owners there. These Korean gentlemen, still friends with them today, and they own multiple restaurants throughout Cincinnati and northern Kentucky. And they were opening up another restaurant at the time, and I just got my hospitality management degree. They gave me the opportunity to become the general manager at 22 years old of this restaurant. We had like 50, 60 people on staff. So worked there 65, 70-hour weeks for like 3.5 years. Got tired of the hospitality industry, as most people do. Shout out to anyone who's been in that industry. It's a tough industry. Then I winded up at Verizon, selling phones there, helping people with plans. Within 2 years of being there, I was top 5 out of like 400 plus sales rep in the Kentucky, Cincinnati market. And during that time, I got my real estate license. I'd always been interested in real estate investing. That's kind of how I got into real estate to begin with, because I wanted to become a real estate investor, not so much the agent side of it. But after like a year and a half into Verizon and doing very well, I felt topped out very quick there. And I felt like, I could work the same amount of hours and do it for myself and, start my own business, which I did. And I'm so thankful I did it, because look at me now. And that was back in 2019 when I got my license, joined the Chabris Group. I've been with them ever since, going on, year 6 now. Almost in November. And I guess the other reason I got into real estate as well, beyond real estate investing, was I do like helping people. I think that's the hospitality aspect that I bring, and I enjoy making connections and actual real relationships with people. Whereas I don't treat every person as just like a number, where a lot of salespeople do that. Especially in the real estate business, you are developing long-lasting relationships, and the people who survive in this business know that. It's not just, you sell them one property, see you later, never talk to you again. Like, I expect anyone that I work with, 5, 7 years down the line, whenever they want to buy an investment property, whenever they want to sell their property, if they ever have any questions about real estate in general, like, they hit me up, they call me. And that is kind of how I have survived in this business and kind of thrived.
Couldn't agree more. I really appreciate the detail you went in there, Ethan. And I think that authenticity and talking about your real story from the very
Yeah.
beginning, and that college experience that you had, that authenticity is one of the reasons that I think you've separated yourself on social media. And I think, it's on our agenda to talk about today, that authenticity. And I think it's one of the things that's really made you successful. So I really appreciate you sharing that story. And out of curiosity, hospitality management is a very unique thing. It's a unique major in the
Right.
grand scheme of things. How did you know early on that that's what you wanted to major in?
I mean, I was always a people person in high school. So I kind of just said, how can I incorporate business with people? And that's how I got with the hospitality management. Originally, I think I wanted to like manage like country clubs or a country club or something like that, which is still cool. And I actually have one of my best friends who does that. But yeah, I really, helping people, being around people, people business. I think that's just how it became.
Okay, great. And side note, Mr. Sushi is a place that I know very well because I lived on Calhoun Street when I went to UC. So I was right above there for 2 years and frequented there often during the day. I was going to add, it was during the day when I ate to eat sushi
It was
because it
cool,
does
man.
double as a bar.
My first year managing that place, I took it from I mean, the owners just gave me free reign pretty much on the place. And I remember when I first took over, they were only doing like 1.2 million in sales on the year. And by my end of my second year managing, I think we were doing like 2.3 or 2.4 million in sales. We like literally doubled. And again, that was just creating an atmosphere there. That's pretty much all it was. That's all that changed. I mean, the prices of food and drinks really didn't change that much. It was just creating the atmosphere.
So fast forward to today, and this isn't one that I had written down. It's just I'm just thinking about it right now. For anybody who might be in the hospitality industry listening to this podcast or have experience in the hospitality industry and be interested in real estate, either investing or becoming an agent, is there any overlap, any synergies that exist between the hospitality management business, like you said, and real estate, and specifically what it took to, for example, make a restaurant successful? And now today you're an agent and you're an investor. Is there any overlap in the skill set that's required for both of those things?
Yeah, I think the biggest is communication. That is, I mean, being a lender as well, communication is how you survive and thrive in this business. If you take over a day to even just call someone back or shoot them a text, you're not going to survive in this business. I don't know how you do. I don't. I mean, my phone's on silent right now. I know yours is too. Right after we get off this chat here in about 45 minutes, we're both going to be zipping off texts and emails and calls because we're good at our jobs and we're good at communicating. People in the hospitality management business, you are managing people. You need to know how to communicate with people. And if you can't do that, you're going to suck. To be blunt.
Yeah, no, and makes total sense. And so talking about what you're doing as an agent now, Ethan, what's your primary focus as an agent? Who are your primary customers and who are you primarily serving? You double as both an agent for homeowners who are buying and selling homes, and also investors. So just kind of talk about who your target demographic is.
So I like to do it all when it comes to real estate. I've got multiple investor clients that are in state and out of state and even out of country that I'm helping. I'm helping a lot of my friends buy their first time home. I am helping people sell their home all over the place at a wide age range. When it comes to real estate, I love all of it. Commercial wise, I do partner with a couple agents on the commercial side of things, but I've done all the way up to 14 unit buildings for multifamily. And I'm hopefully, knock on wood, going to get this one under contract. That's going to be 27 units here. So we'll see. But yeah, I like to do it all. I don't like to think that I just hone in on one specific clientele base, which I know some people do. I think you need to know how a bunch of different areas in the market work. If you're just specialized in one area, that's great. But I think you can use knowledge from, what a normal single family is selling for, and you could take that data from there, and you could actually use some snippets to help real estate investors, and vice versa. I just don't think staying in one lane will make you last in this business. I think you need to be Mr. or Mrs. Fix It. And again, that's just me. When it comes to real estate, I just like to do it all.
I think, like you said, there's a lot of ways to be successful in real estate. And from an investment perspective, one of the agents who we use for a lot of our BPOs here in Cincinnati, he's both an agent and he's an investor. He represents both homeowners and also investors, and invests himself. And what that allows him to do is, from our perspective, one of the reasons why we really like working with him is because he can go into a neighborhood and do a BPO for us, and he knows the ARV, either because he flipped the
Yep.
property there himself, or he sold a house for one of his clients, or he helped somebody buy one in that area. So he sees it
Exactly.
on both the retail side and the investor side. It's super valuable.
It's exactly what I was trying to make my point. So
Yeah, it's very important. So I think it's a good point to make. What are you seeing from your clients? Let's just talk about specifically the investment side right now. What are you seeing from your clients in terms of strategies that they're implementing that they're having success with in what I would consider a relatively difficult market compared to, the prior 5 to 10 years?
I always tell people this. There are deals off market. There are deals on market. There's deals on both sides. And sometimes I get these investors that have these off market deals, and especially like wholesalers, and they want these crazy numbers. And there's a reason why that property probably isn't on the market. That's what I try to tell people all the time with off market deals. Like, yeah, they can be great. They can also be a reason why they're not on the market. But I'm seeing success with investors really with flipping's been a little tough the last 12 to 18 months. But I did help a successful client from California just this past June, and we're going to be putting their flip in Springdale coming in September. And that one was on market. It sat on market, and the numbers made sense. They asked for a little bit too much up front. Someone with financing fell through on that, and we were able to come in as a backup offer. So utilizing a backup offer is huge because right now, I think 1 in 3 deals fall apart. That's a little bit more than what it was a couple of years ago. So if something's in contract already, it doesn't hurt to still, have me reach out to the listing agent and ask like, hey, you guys taking backup offers? Because if 1 in 3 deals fall apart and the numbers make sense, and sometimes you're even, an inspection report's already been done, and maybe the seller's fed up, they don't want to go through that again. They're like, well, here's the inspection report. We know what we need to fix, X, Y, and Z. We're willing to fix X, but not Y and Z. And then you can make, as an investor, you can come and be like, okay, well, they're going to fix X. We have this inspection report. We could still get another one, which I advise to do. But using backup offers is huge. I just think with how, rates have shot up and just the overall economy, people being able to afford things, you're just going to see it a little bit more too of just deals falling apart because of financing.
Is that what you think has made flipping more difficult, or are there any other factors that you think has contributed to that?
That and, wholesalers and are getting and just some off-market properties. I think people are pretty crazy with their ARVs and like their budget. Like I just toured one last week that was off-market for a client, and they were saying like, oh yeah, 150 purchase price, only needs about 45,000 in renovations, and ARV is like 275. I go there, yeah, 150. No, it needs like easily 70 to 80K put into it, like easily. So I just think, yeah, flipping the wholesale business has gotten crazy the last couple years. Not that you can't find deals, and I'm friends with wholesalers that still bring me deals and bring my investor deals, but I don't know. Some people and their valuations are pretty crazy nowadays.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I think there used to be a precedent for wholesalers where $10,000 was a normal assignment. I think that number has just increased exponentially in the wake of maybe it's COVID and the rise in prices and so on and so forth. So I definitely think that there's a low barrier to entry to wholesaling. And so I think it kind of opens the door to anybody to be able to go in there and door knock and then call themselves a wholesaler. I think there are some good ones out there, to your point, though.
There are.
And finding those is really important if you want to be successful, especially in a market like this.
And that's, any industry. Agents too, lenders. There's great agents, there's great lenders. There's also bad agents, there's bad lenders.
For sure. And so thinking through that, so people have had a hard time flipping, but you still are seeing people be successful in flipping. We're seeing the same thing. And I actually asked your colleague, Stacey Shelby, this on our episode that is airing today. Today is the 21st for anybody who's listening. And she had her own answer, and she mentioned that people were having a lot of success with Burr. Are you seeing people burring successfully in this market?
Yeah, not as much, obviously, as like 3-4 years ago. But
right.
Like I tell every client, I don't care what the market's doing. There's going to be opportunity. If the market crashes, there's going to be opportunity. If the market, home prices keep shooting up, there's going to be opportunity. It's just maybe it's a little tougher to find, but there's opportunity.
For sure. So let me rewind real quick before we dive into some of the questions that you and I have laid out on our notes. When going back, when you were first starting, obviously you had success in the hospitality management industry, the hospitality industry in general. You managed a successful restaurant. And so you took some of those skills and you applied them to becoming an agent. But in the very beginning, before you have any sort of credibility, before you've bought and sold a property, how did you go about building your book of business and start networking and finding your first clients?
So yeah, Chris, when I was younger, my older brother had a kid very young, and he had to get his life together really quick. And he's now a CFA of a company of 60 employees up in Columbus. I'm really proud of him how he's turned out in life. But I credit a lot to him for making me understand money at a younger age. I self-taught myself a lot from YouTube podcasts, a bunch of books that I read about money and finances and real estate. And I started posting a lot when I was like 22, 23, before like social media really took off. I mean, social media, took off 10 years ago, but it's not like what it is today. But still, like people, I would always post on my stories or like Facebook, just, tips on how to invest, what this 23-year-old person is investing in, what the mortgage rates are doing before I even owned a property. And I would, in my off time, like when I'm working out, when I'm driving, this is before I even got my real estate license, I would be listening to so many podcasts. I think some days I would do 5 to 6 hours of podcasts. I'm not even kidding. And over time, people kind of saw me and started asking me questions like I was their financial advisor, which I'm not at all. I'm not financial advice, but
Full
I
disclosure
think
here, this is not financial advice.
full disclosure here. So at a younger age, a lot of people would just ask me like about, hey, Ethan, what are you doing? Like, what are you investing in? And, and I would give them advice. Probably I shouldn't have legally, but that's between us. But yeah, it just over time, I think just not talking about, what celebrities are doing and stuff and just dumb crap that so many people get they spend too much time into. I really took all that excess time and put it into just learning and self-educating about real estate, about investing, about the economy, about finances, just all of that. And I just consistently kept posting. And again, how we talk about being authentic. I'm not one that just finds what the trend is happening, put the trendy music on the reel nowadays. No, I'm going to post completely authentic. And I swear a lot. I'm not going to try to swear on this show here today, but
You
I
can
think
swear.
people, yeah, I think people just appreciate the authenticity from people. And over time, and I'm wrapping up how this came to my book of business. Over time, people just kind of see like, hey, I trust this guy. Like he's like me, like he's kind of like me. And when I got into real estate, people had already been known, like I've been posting for years about it. And I think just the confidence of me actually knowing more than what probably the typical agent did when they got their license, just having that confidence and like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about for the most part. I mean, every agent goes through like when they first get their license. All right, got my license, but I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And I do credit being on the Chabris group too, just having all the experience from like the agents that have been in the business 20, 30 years there. And if I didn't know a question out the gate, and even today, still, there's some times where I lean on some of their professional advice. But when I was starting out, I just had the confidence more than I think most other agents did. And I did actually have more knowledge, in my opinion. I think I did. So people saw that and they were able to trust me with their purchase, with their, with the real estate questions.
Yeah. And it sounds like you put the time in to do the research, to learn on your own. First and foremost, before you became an agent, you were just learning because that's what you were interested in, because that's what you
Right.
wanted for yourself. And then I think something that's so important here and goes such a long way is you were building this credibility and this trust. I think most importantly, this trust, Ethan, by posting and just being authentic. I mean, if we just think about what authenticity really is, it's just being real. And in order to be real, you have to be honest. And so
Yep.
by kind of, taking the curtain down and showing people, hey, this is exactly what I'm doing and this is what I'm learning, and just sharing in real time kind of what you're working on, I think that goes so far. And, probably over time, somebody sees you post, 100 days, and all of a sudden it's like, well, if Ethan becomes an agent, I already know that I trust Ethan because I've seen the behind the scenes. I know that he's sharing real stuff. So it makes
Exactly.
total sense to me. I don't think that there's really any alternative. There's any other way to compete with somebody who is consistently showing the behind the scenes and doing it in an honest and fair way.
Right. And I told people up front when I first, the first couple clients I had, and I told them like, hey, you're some of the first people I've helped, but I just want to let you know, like I'm on one of the best teams in Cincinnati, and we have these agents on our team that have been around the block and they've sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of properties. Like, so just having that too as a support system was huge too, because I know a lot of agents that they try to start out doing everything solo, and I mean that's why the attrition rate for an agent is 87% after 3 years. Like,
Right. Yeah. And I think, to your point, there's two schools of thought here. Some people subscribe to the whole fake it till you make it idea. And some people
yeah,
subscribe to, I think, your thought process where it's like, listen, I may not know the answers to your questions, but I will go and I will find them. And here's why, right? Like I have a team behind me that's been doing this for 20
exactly.
or 30 years or whatever it might be. So I really
Right.
like that. When you're talking to first time investors, this is a little bit unrelated to when you were first starting. Well, I guess maybe it does tie together. Now that you know what you have the experience. You're talking to first time investors and you're working with them and they're asking you like, how do I get my feet wet? How do I get started? What's your advice to them when they come to you for the first time trying to get started?
My advice would be to go to whatever market you're looking at, or even your local market, go on Facebook, get a Facebook. I know a lot of people around, our ages probably don't use Facebook, but you should. You should, because a lot of people 40 and up, they use it. And a lot of people 40 and up have money. Go to Facebook, join any real estate, just type in real estate group, whatever town you're in, whatever city you're in. I guarantee you there's groups. I guarantee you. And you go to those groups. Yeah, a lot of it can be just crap posting in there, but you will find people that are constantly posting about new deals or new opportunities, new properties, and click on that person's name and you message them. You reach out to as many people that you see that are actively doing what you want to do. That's try to find anyone. I mean, go to. I know you guys have your meetups that I've come to a couple times, and they're awesome. Try to find these real estate meetups and go there and talk to people. I know it's scary for a lot of people to message someone, to talk to someone, but if you want to get in this business, go learn go learn from someone. Go take them out to coffee or something. I'm way more open to, if you want to just sit down. I don't care if you're buying or selling real estate at all. If you just want to pick my brain for 30 minutes, if we put it on a calendar, I'm open for it. A lot of people are. All you have to do, you just have to be willing to ask. And a lot of people don't do that. So as new investors, even if it's not real estate, you want to open up a business, like go find someone that's somewhat successful in that business. Find out what they've done right. Find out what they've done wrong. I don't know. That is where I would start.
Love that advice. It's exactly what we did here at Sharper Capital. We did not come up with this business plan of becoming private lenders. We met somebody in Baltimore who was doing it much better than we were. We started talking to them. We basically took their business model, plugged it in here to Cincinnati, and then tweaked it in a way that made it work. And we
Right.
just didn't reinvent the wheel. But the first
And
thing that
look
we
at
had
you
to
guys
do was
now.
And the first thing you have to do is reach out. And even when we first started, Ethan, I mean, I think along the same lines that you're just talking about, that same guy I mentioned who does our BPOs, the way that we met him was I was just scrolling through LinkedIn and I typed in Cincinnati real estate on LinkedIn and just like went through the list and started reaching out to people. He had his phone
Exactly.
number and his banner, and he's been one of the most important relationships that we've made for the past 2.5 years. So I think that advice is awesome.
And a lot of people can crap on LinkedIn, and I'm actually on LinkedIn all the time. LinkedIn, I mean, you could pay for like the premium, but it's free, and you can literally go on there and connect with 100 people like every other day.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's great people on LinkedIn. I mean, everybody has a LinkedIn in the professional space. And so at the
Right.
very least, you're bound to come across somebody who you may or may not want to talk to, right? So I
And,
completely agree.
and even if you fire off 10 messages and only one replies, well, okay, if that one replies and it happens to be someone that owns 55 units and they're happy to answer some questions for you, that advice can be valuable.
100%. Very common theme here. And I'm curious to know if you've seen this as well. Very common theme I've noticed in real estate is that you just never know who the very, very successful people are. They could be walking around in boots and jeans and a t-shirt and just they actually casually have, 250 units under their belt. And
Oh
you just
yeah.
would have never guessed. So you never know by shooting off messages, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever you're trying to network, who's
Right.
seeing those messages and who's going to respond.
Absolutely. I just, if you never ask, you'll never get. That's just
Perfectly said. Let's
yeah.
transition to the Cincinnati market specifically, Ethan, because that's where you and I both are. You mentioned that you work with outside investors, but people want to invest here in Cincinnati. There's a very good reason why. So tell me a little bit from your perspective, what's going on in the Cincinnati market, and then where do you see it heading in the next 1, 5, 10 years?
So obviously, you bring anyone on this show and they're talking about a specific market that they're in, they're probably going to be biased, right? But I'm going to be biased right here because I think Cincinnati, I think Columbus, I think these Midwest markets like Pittsburgh too, that are still affordable and there's good jobs here. But really, the affordability is the huge thing. I have, friends who live out on the West Coast and the East Coast that, a starter home is $800,000, $900,000. And that may not even get you like a starter home. That may even just get you like a 2 bed, 1 bath, not even 1,000 square feet condo. So, and with the rise of remote work, I've helped, and this is not even just investor clients, but I've helped people come from these major cities like San Francisco, LA, New York, who are like, yeah, I make 150, 200 a year remote. Why would I pay the taxes there and work there and my cost of living not be that good? And I can go to Cincinnati, make 150, 200 a year and ball out essentially. So I think affordability for the Midwest is the reason why over the next 5 to 10 years, I think it's going to be the best market. I really do. I mean, the appreciation has gone so high in some of these major cities. Like, how much higher can it go without wage growth, like really exponentially increasing? I think a study just came out the other day. It said like Pittsburgh, Columbus, and Cincinnati were like top 10 when it came to median home price to median salary price, which the best for someone making that salary, like ratio wise versus in those other major cities. So I just think you have Fortune 500 companies here in Cincinnati that they're not moving. P&G's not going anywhere. Kroger's not going anywhere. GE's not going anywhere. If anything, they're expanding. And you just have good paying jobs here. It's still affordable. And I think travel wise too, I mean, like a lot of people slept on the Midwest for a long time, just thinking it's just nothing but flat land. But I mean, realistically, being in Cincinnati, we can get to, Red River Gorge in under 2 hours, Gatlinburg's like a 4 hour drive. There's other big cities all within about an hour, hour and a half drive, like Lexington, Louisville, Indianapolis, Columbus. So yeah, I'm really bullish on the Cincinnati mark just because of our affordability still. And I think it's going to get less affordable over those next 5 to 10 years. As an investor, that's why I think you should still be getting into these type of markets.
You and I both played lacrosse, Ethan, growing up. And when I used to travel and play lacrosse on the East Coast way back in the day, I had people who would talk smack to me by calling me a corn-fed boy because I was from Ohio, but I was from Cincinnati. And I was like, do you not know what Cincinnati actually is? Like, it's
they don't.
It's a city. So I say that because I do think that there's still some sort of, even though, we're in Cincinnati, so we're probably biased. We hear it all the time. We talk about it all the time. It sounds like it's becoming more popular on the national radar. I do think that there's still some underappreciation for, and not like in terms of price, but underappreciation in terms of like how people feel about it for Cincinnati and what it actually does have to offer. And I like that. I like that aspect of it because I don't want it to become overcrowded or oversubscribed like the Austins or some of the other cities.
Right. I mean, our metro population is 2.2. So we're not just some small city. I'm not saying, we're not Chicago, we're not LA, San Francisco, New York, but like we're still a pretty big city. And we got CVG right there. I always tell my wife, like, our cost of living is amazing. If we want to go somewhere, we just 30 minutes of CVG, we fly somewhere. We go experience it, we come back, and then we get to enjoy our low cost of living here.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. So this is related, but it's kind of moving on to another section that I want to talk about, Ethan. And that is your own personal investments and what you like to invest in. And so the reason I think it's a good time to talk about this right now is because tell me a little bit about what your investing looks like and maybe what your plans are for real estate investing in the future, and then what you like to invest in personally, whether it's real estate or otherwise.
So I want to stay, when it comes to real estate, in the Cincinnati market, just because that's where I've got eyes on all the time. I'm open to investing outside of Cincinnati in northern Kentucky. But for now, for the next 5 to 10 year, the plan is just to keep stacking long-term rentals. I've been looking into short-term rentals too, but I like long-term rentals. They're just easier to manage. I can self-manage those myself. Once we get to a point where we have more than like probably 7 or 8 long-term rentals here, because we have 2 here in Cincinnati now. Once we get past that 7 or 8 mark, that's probably when I'd hire a property manager. Once I just once I just feel too overwhelmed with doing it all. Investing in general, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm full real estate. I don't think anyone should be full one class, investing class, that is. I have a managed stock portfolio that I don't touch because I like to be a little more risky. It's a friend of mine. Him and his dad has had their firm for over 40 years. That's my long-term portfolio there. They also manage like retirement accounts for my wife and I. I also have my own stock brokerage account too that I manage, and I don't do as well as them, unfortunately. So I've kind of learned to like not just touch things that much. I'm a terrible day trader. Most people are. If you're trying to day trade, you're going to get beat. You just are. Only 5% really beat the market, and that 5% has 12 screens in front of them, and they're sitting on Wall Street. So anyone I try to day trade, that's the same thing with the housing market too. Like when people try to speculate on just like a 1 year return or something, I'm like, you're better off just go day trade. Like you like if you're not 60, 70, 80 hours a week in the real estate market here, and you just think you're going to know more than just what these full-time investors here are doing, then you're going to get beat. You just are. There may be a couple lucky cases here and there. But yeah, so my wife and I, we've got 2 long-term rentals here, and one's out in Sharonville, one's in Covington, Kentucky. Our primary's in Anderson. Got, like I said, a couple managed portfolios, stock portfolio, and retirement accounts. I have my own managed portfolio with stocks. And then I'm also into crypto a bit. I think anyone under the age of 35 probably caught that bug a little bit. I caught it, fortunately enough, pretty early back in like late 2016, early 2017. And I'm still a big advocate for crypto. I don't think anyone should be as risky as probably I am with it, but I'm comfortable with my finances where I can be that risky with it. So for someone who's not into it, I would say don't put more than like 5 to 10% of your investing portfolio into crypto. Yeah, outside of that, again, my wife and I were looking to acquire another property here probably by the end of the year. I'm looking at 2 to 4 units. I may even go above that. I've been looking into seller financing as well. That's been kind of becoming a trend the last couple of years since rates came up. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm invested in.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's great. And I think between you and I, because we share similar interests, we could talk about that for a very, very long time. So I'm going to impose some discipline, and I'm going to move on because I have so many questions and so many thoughts on that. Right. But I think it's a good transition, you talking about you and your wife wanting to buy another property here. And this is something that you touched on a little bit earlier, right? About wholesalers bringing deals that are off market. And, sometimes those are high quality, sometimes they're not. And then you as an agent are obviously always looking for other deals. I saw on your Instagram story the other day that you were shopping around for off-market investment deals for your clients. So tell me a little bit about that, Ethan. And we're gonna move towards wrapping this conversation up. So these are some of the last points I want to talk about. Tell me about what your process looks like for finding off-market properties for either yourself or for your investors.
So yeah, if it's not wholesalers, again, I'm part of all these groups on Facebook, and I am always posting every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. I'm posting in their needs that I have for clients, like, hey, I have got, cash buyer up to 450,000. I want to buy something near University of Cincinnati. Hey, I've got, these 2 guys that they can go up to 650. They're looking for 2 to 4 units near Xavier University. Going to these, not that it's all universities, I'm just throwing examples out there, but going into those groups, constantly posting, because there's other people there that, have pocket listings. Like I've got pocket listings. I've got 3 listings coming up. And when someone posts something like that, I'm like, hey, this might fit your box, maybe we could show it to you off market. So I think utilizing those big groups on Facebook is massive, and just building your network too. So now on my phone, I label people on my contact list, like investor A, investor B, just in how I have it in different classes. Like if I know it's a multifamily above 5 units, I've got like a list of like 25, 30 investor clients where I'm just like firing off like, hey, this came to me.
I do the same thing. I think I get so many phone calls, just like I'm sure you do, obviously, and I have to organize my contacts list. So I love that. And I think I'm glad that you brought up Facebook early on in this conversation. I'm glad you brought it up again because it's probably one of the bigger surprises for me getting involved in real estate is how valuable Facebook has actually been and how much of a resource it really is. So in addition to that, how have you as an agent, right? You talked when you were first starting as a, even before you started as an agent, sharing your investment tips and kind of what you were doing. I guess maybe not investment tips, but what you were doing, stuff that you were learning. Now as an agent, how are you leveraging social media in addition to posting on Facebook and sharing? How are you leveraging social media to either find clients or to get deals done?
So yeah, a lot of agents will pay for just general like blasting on their which there's nothing wrong with that. I know agents that get business from that. For me, like I said, everything's authentic. I don't pay any advertising at all. I utilize Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn the most. I'm not really on TikTok. I just, with those three already, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. LinkedIn is where, again, you can find, like-minded people. There's a lot of crap posting on LinkedIn, but I like LinkedIn a lot. Facebook, pretty much anyone 35 or 40 years and up is on Facebook. Instagram's more like upper 20s to mid to upper 30-year-olds. And the way I utilize it is, I run like fun polls every day. Like I do this one on Instagram where I find two homes that are kind of similar or they're very different. Literally just put one or two on it on a poll. I get over 150 people to answer on that every other day. And
I'm one of
you're
them.
one of them. Yeah, you're one of them. I mean, it's something simple like that, but it's repetition of people seeing my name too. I think another hack, I mean, just something dumb that I do, but on Instagram, when you go to the chats section, right, you can like pick a song or something, or like say like a 5-word quote or something. And every single day, I just put a song there because only like out of like the 2,000 plus people who follow me or whoever I follow too, there's only like 3 or 4 people that do that. But I do that, and it's every single day. So when people go to their chats, they see my name.
Is it a Creed
It's
song?
it's probably a Creed song. Yeah, love Creed. Love Creed. Take me higher, baby. But yeah, no, just small stuff like that. And in actually responding to people, uh, can't tell you how many times people have reached out to me and, maybe they've asked for advice or something. I answer within 10, 15 minutes and then I don't hear from them for a day. And I'm just like, I don't think you're really that interested. Like if I don't know, if I was reaching out to someone, I'd be checking my, notification every like 5 to 10 minutes to see if this person responded to help answer the question that I had. So I just think responding to people, being consistent with social media too. If you're not consistent, the algorithm's not going to like you on any of those sites. It's kind of algorithm hacking and being authentic. Again, I go back to that so much because so many people just hear so many regurgitated bull crap from like agents and stuff. They're like, oh, you want to buy or sell a home? Call me. And I'm like, no, that's not how you do it. If it works for you, great, but I just don't understand how people continuously do that and think that that's going to work.
It's human nature. We can see right through it, right? And we see enough of it that we recognize it right away. I think that was a condensed marketing and simplified. I think it was a simplified marketing masterclass, to be honest with you, Ethan, because I think you really can distill it down to a simple form like you just did. It's simple, not easy, just like a lot of things that are worth doing. But I think that was great. And I think one word of advice, unsolicited advice I would leave people with is if you are interested in leveraging social media or some sort of marketing in order to gain clients, go follow somebody like Ethan. We'll put his contact info down below, and we always talk about that at the end of the conversation, but go follow somebody like Ethan and just do what they're doing. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be out there getting offended by, you kind of using them as inspiration, right? I mean, you don't try to like steal their brand or their likeness or anything like that, but just use the same kind of tactics and go from there.
And I took tidbits from other people that I followed, and I still do. Like I'm authentic, but I'll see something and be like, I could do that, but make it funnier or make it more me.
100%. Last thing before we go into the wrap up here, Ethan, what's the biggest mistake that you've made as an agent? And then what did you learn from it?
The biggest mistake. I think the biggest mistake was when I started out, I didn't utilize a CRM how I should have been. Not saying that I do it a perfect job now, but when I started out, not keeping notes of people, not writing stuff down, not utilizing my calendar. That's another big thing. Like my first year or two, I just rarely used my calendar. And then sometimes I'd look down and be like, oh crap, I have two showings at the same time. And I'm supposed to meet with this lender for lunch. And I have another client meeting and I'm overbooked on everything. And because I didn't utilize my calendar. So I think the biggest mistake starting out was not utilizing. And I lost probably a client or two because of, just not utilizing my calendar. Honestly, that's probably the biggest mistake.
I've made the same mistakes, and I think, and I'd be curious to know if you agree with this. Actually, one thing that I learned from both Grant and I learned this lesson from our business growing was we should have implemented systems before we needed them, rather than trying to retroactively catch up. What do you think?
Right. No, I agree with that 100%. Absolutely.
It's hard to do, but it's very important. Awesome. And last thing here before we wrap this, where can people go to get in touch with you, Ethan?
So easiest way, I live and die by my phone. I think within our 45, 50 minutes here, I've probably missed like 17 messages. I know I've got multiple calls. My Apple Watch has been buzzing me half the time we've been talking. 330-495-9742. That's been my number since like middle school, not changing it. Another way, at Ethan Bishop on Facebook, on Instagram. It's Ethan is the Bish. That's been my like handle since Instagram was created. Essentially, I'm not changing. You can also type in Ethan Bishop. I think I'm the first one that pops up. You can Google Ethan Bishop Realtor. I'm the first one who pops up. Same thing, LinkedIn. I've got a big following on LinkedIn, almost like 6,000 followers on LinkedIn. Just type my name. And any of those platforms, if you message me, I promise I will get back to you within an hour or two. If I don't, I'm probably on vacation, which even on vacation, I'm still working.
Common theme here with us real estate investors. Well, that's great. We will link a lot of that contact info down below in the description of this episode. Ethan, I tried to say this in the beginning. I didn't do a great job of saying it, but really respect your authenticity. Really appreciate the energy that you bring to every single room that you walk in. I appreciate the knowledge that you share on your social media and in every conversation. And I appreciate more than anything you taking the time today because, like you just said, you got plenty going on. Very busy guy, plenty of people reaching out to you. So very much value the time that we had together, and hopefully we can do it again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris.
That's all we have for you, everybody. If you found this conversation helpful, please share it with a friend, leave a review, and check us out at sharpercapital.com. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Ethan or the Sharper Capital team using the contact info below. We'll see you in the next one.